When we decided to go on a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Alaska, we thought we would try to find a cheaper way to fly there, but still travel in style in business class, as well as earning enough tier points to help us regain our BA Executive Club Gold status. Join me to find out how we achieved that. Coming up next. Well, welcome to Dublin. We are currently at Clayton Dublin Airport Hotel. If you're wondering why we're here, well, let me give you a bit of background. Last year, we booked a one-way Alaska Inside Passage cruise with Princess from Anchorage Whittier to Vancouver. But since Alaska is so far away, we decided to explore its interior and try out the Alaska Railroad Denali Star before the cruise as well. After extensive research, this is the flight plan we ended up with. I'll explain it along the way. From London Heathrow, we will fly to Dublin with BA and spend a night here. The next morning, we'll fly with British Airways from Dublin back to Heathrow, and there we will transfer to a flight to Seattle. At Seattle, we'll fly with Alaska Airlines to Fairbanks, where our Alaska adventure begins. After our Alaska Railroad and Princess Cruises adventures, we'll end up in Vancouver, from where we'll fly with Delta to Los Angeles via Seattle. Finally, from LA, we'll fly back to London with American Airlines, continuing on to Dublin again with BA, before a final BA flight from Dublin to London. By the way, if you are new to this channel, I'm Ken and welcome to my channel. I share travel tips that I discovered during my travels, as well as candid reviews on flights, cruises, hotels, and airport lounges. Now, let's pick up the story from our flight number 1, London Heathrow to Dublin. Right, here we are at London Heathrow Terminal 5, where the whole adventure starts. Our first flight is to Dublin. You may be wondering why. Why are we flying to Dublin first? To go to Alaska? More on that later. We've got a lot of luggage, but when your trip spans the chilly weather of Alaska to the hot summer of Los Angeles and everything in between, packing is always a challenge. Fortunately, with One World Sapphire status and generous baggage allowance in business class, we don't have to worry about excess baggage fee. We spent a bit of time in the lounge. We're gonna have a lot more time at Heathrow tomorrow, so after a glass of champagne, we headed to the departure gate. Our flight today is operated by an Airbus A320. Since we're flying in Club Europe, we were served a small dinner shortly after takeoff. I've got a prawn salad, and there was also a chocolate mousse for dessert. As the flight across the Irish Sea was so short, the plane already started to descend before we even finished the meal. We were showered with lots of drinks though, and we could barely finish them. Welcome to rainy Dublin. We're staying at Clayton Hotel and our shuttle is here already. Well, we are now at Clayton Hotel. Well, we have settled nicely in the Clayton Dublin Airport Hotel, so let's explain why we're here. Well, after deciding that we wanted to experience Alaska with a cruise and Alaska Railroad, we found ourselves needing to book a flight ticket from London to Fairbanks, Alaska, and then return from the west coast of North America back to London. Plus, this year, we aim to regain our BA Executive Club Gold membership again, and we also wanted to travel there in style, so we're looking at business class tickets with One World Airlines mostly. If you search for those flights online, you will find prices upwards of £5,000. To get a lower fare, we needed to start our ticket outside the UK, and that's why we are flying to Dublin. There are 3 reasons why tickets are cheaper that way. First, there is no UK Air Passenger Duty (APD) when transiting, which saves a lot on premium classes. Secondly, indirect flights are much cheaper since airlines compete with direct routes and need to attract passengers despite the inconvenience and extra traveling time. Finally, different markets have different pricing structures and airlines adjust prices to maximize profit. It was also cheaper to book our tickets to Seattle and then get a separate first-class ticket with Alaska Airlines to Fairbanks. I'll explain more later. After a lot of fare searching, we decided to start our trip from Dublin, and that's why we've just done this repositioning trip to get to Dublin. Anyway, it's time to get some sleep. We'll catch up again tomorrow morning. Well, good morning. We've woken up nice and early. Today, we are flying our ex-Dublin ticket to head to the US. Breakfast is not included in our hotel price, but that's okay. We're gonna check out the lounge at Dublin, and of course, we'll get breakfast on our flights back to Heathrow as well. So let's go catch the shuttle back to the airport. The shuttle took us back to the airport, and we've got our bags checked in all the way to Seattle. Well, we just got through the security, which is a bit of a nightmare here. Almost everyone got secondary check. But let's head over to the lounge now. We haven't had breakfast. Really hungry. Now, don't expect too much from this lounge. The food buffet selection is quite limited. All the food is basically reheated from the oven. For breakfast, they offer sausages, bacon, scrambled eggs, that kind of stuff. I tried it, but the quality is quite mediocre. There's a coffee machine for those who enjoy a coffee or hot chocolate. It seems to offer even Irish coffee, but I haven't tried it. If you would like alcohol, they have a bar where you can order your drinks: beer, Guinness, wine, spirits, and mixers. Alcohol is rationed to 2 per passengers, which feels a bit cheap. They do offer Prosecco. Cheers! As you can see, there's a variety of seating here. Private booths, seats with desk, low leather seats, high stool, etc. As an airport lounge, this is quite basic. You don't really need to arrive extra early to enjoy it. So I'm gonna try out the Guinness now. I never really had Guinness in my life before. Let me see how it tastes like. I probably won't order that again. Right, after the Guinness, it's time to head to the departure gate now. So we just arrived at our boarding gate, but the flight has been delayed for like 15 minutes because the inbound flight has been delayed as well.
In group 1 only, please. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi there. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks. Hi there.
Today, our flight is operated by an Airbus A321neo. British Airways actually has 2 versions of this aircraft, and this one is from the earlier batch. In this configuration, there's no shared console between the seats in Club Europe, which is a bit disappointing as I usually find it quite handy. The seats felt rather tight, even for someone of my height, and the legroom is a mere 30.4 inches. On the plus side, these planes do have larger overhead lockers designed to hold bags upright to maximize space. However, on this flight, there wasn't much hand luggage around, so it wasn't really put to the test. Shortly after takeoff, we were served an English breakfast. Having already eaten earlier, it felt a little odd to have a second breakfast so soon. We did have some drinks during the flight, though not as enthusiastically as the day before on our trip to Dublin. We had a long day ahead and needed to pace ourselves. Before we knew it, our flight was approaching London Heathrow again and delivering us back to where we started. Well, welcome back to London Heathrow again. It's always weird to transfer at your home airport. Right, it seems like it's only yesterday that we were here at Heathrow Terminal 5. In this case, that's actually literally true. We got a good few hours here until our flight to Seattle. It's not long enough to get outside, Besides, look at the weather. But anyway, we'll go to the Terminal 5B. So we're going to check out the Terminal 5B lounge now. So we headed to Gary's B Gates Club Lounge, where it's much less crowded in general. If you would like a detailed review of this lounge, check out the link above. Okay, it's time to head to the boarding gate now. We're traveling on BA49, operated by a Boeing 787-10. BA has a few different Dreamliner types, but the 787-10 is the only one fitted with club suites at the time of traveling. The others still have the older Yin Yang Clubwell cabin. As with other club suites, the cabin is laid out in a 1-2-1 configuration. As they serve the welcome champagne, let's take a look at today's menu. The smoked salmon looks like a great choice to start. And when it comes to the main course, the grilled cod really stands out as the most appealing choice to me. On this flight, we were given the new amenity kit made in partnership with the White Company. It's rectangular in shape and comes in white faux leather. And I personally find it more stylish and more useful than the previous LMS kit. We've booked the seats 8K and 9K. For flights westbound to the States, we generally choose the starboard side to avoid direct sunlight through the window for most of the flight. Now, I've covered this club suite seat in a couple of videos before already, so I won't go into detail and do a seat tour. Well, they have started serving dinner. For starter, I've chosen the salmon, the smoked salmon. So for the main course, I've got grilled cod. But for desserts, I've got fruits as well as a chocolate, walnut and orange cake. Overall, I found the quality of the meal to be decent. My expectation for BA's in-flight meals, even in Clubwell, are generally modest. So when the meal is reasonably tasty, I consider it a win. Shortly before landing, we were served a late meal featuring a ciabatta and a dessert. It was fine, nothing remarkable, but it did the job. When we arrive at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, we'll be rushing to the immigration because there is another international flight, the Delta flight from Paris Charles de Gaulle, that has the same arrival time as us. So let's hope the immigration lines aren't too long. Well, we just arrived at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. This airport is very interesting. You actually have to claim your bags first before going to the immigration. This is really different from other airports. At the end, the immigration lines were manageable, allowing us to get through fairly quickly. From there, we took the train to downtown, and we spent 36 hours in Seattle exploring its main attractions before heading back to the airport to continue our main adventures. Well, welcome back to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Today, we are flying from Seattle to Fairbanks. Since this is my first time flying with Alaska Airlines, I've actually made a separate video about the whole experience, so check out the link above or at the end of the video if you're interested. Early in the video, I mentioned that we booked this flight separately instead of as part of a through ticket from London. Let me explain why. Alaska Airlines has 3 or 4 flights a day from Seattle to Fairbanks. If you connect directly from another flight, you will be on the second or third flight of the day, which are more expensive due to higher demand. As the morning flight departs at 7:30 in the morning, there is not much connection traffic, and as a result, it's much cheaper. It may surprise you that the first class ticket on the morning flight was actually priced cheaper than the economy tickets on the later flights. And the bonus was, of course, visiting Seattle again. I only been there once before, and it was nice to visit it again. It also helped with the jet lag. Well, we've done Alaska and Vancouver, and we're now at Vancouver International Airport. Alaska has been truly amazing, so make sure you subscribe and watch my other vlogs if you're interested. While you're at it, hit the thumbs up if you've been enjoying this video. Originally, we booked our Vancouver to Los Angeles flight with WestJet since it was much cheaper than American Airlines. We figured that it wasn't worth the extra cost to go with AA, which would earn us only 40 tier points. By saving with WestJet, we could put those savings towards a Club Europe weekend that will earn at least 80 tier points. Plus, we're excited to try our new airline. However, due to a schedule change, we ended up flying with Delta via Seattle instead. It was quite a journey, and I've covered that whole story in a separate video. I'll link it above so you can check it out later. We had an amazing few days in Los Angeles, visiting the historic Queen Mary in Long Beach, checking out the fantastic Broad Museum, and spending some time in beautiful Santa Barbara. I'll be posting videos on all of that soon, so make sure to subscribe to catch those when they are up. We had a great few days here in Southern California, and we are reaching the end of the trip. We are ready to return to Europe. Originally, we were booked on BA's A380 service to Heathrow. Even though I love traveling on BA's A380 service before, it has been rather unreliable lately, and the old Club World Yin Yang suites are really dated. When one of the flights in our itinerary was cancelled, we got the chance to change our flights for free, and I jumped on that to request to move to this AA flight. We just got our bags checked in at AA priority, so we're now ready to go up to security, and then we're going to check out the flagship lounge before boarding the plane. We really enjoyed our time there. The food was good, and I particularly enjoyed the carved to order porchetta. They served Piper Heidsieck champagne there, which was excellent. And finally, there were great views of the apron thanks to all those floor-to-ceiling windows. Our flight across the pond is AA138, operated by a Boeing 777-200, equipped with 37 Super Diamond seats in business class. The flight itself was pretty solid. As this was a late evening departure, dinner came on a single tray, and the food was generally excellent. I especially loved the signature dessert, the traditional ice cream sundae. There was so much more about this flight that I've shared in a separate full review, and you can check it out by clicking the link above. Now, let's continue the story as our flight landed at London Heathrow Airport. Well, after 3.5 weeks travel, we are back at London Heathrow Terminal 3. We're now going to do an inter-terminal transfer to T5 to catch our next flight to Dublin. Some people might be tempted to terminate their journey here and go home, and I admit, it would be nice to just head home after the long-haul flight. However, gate agents are clued up these days, and in general, they won't short-check your luggage to just Heathrow. Plus, the flights to Dublin will give us 40 tier points extra, so we decided to extend our trip by another day to incorporate a quick island side trip. Anyway, we're back at Heathrow Terminal 5 now. We've got some time to kill, so we're gonna head to the BA's Galleries Lounge now. Today, we're visiting the Galleries Club North Lounge, which isn't my usual choice. However, given the location of our departure gate, it made sense to use it this time. The lounge was quite busy, and finding a table with available seats was a bit of a challenge. Thankfully, we managed in the end. Unfortunately, the air conditioning was struggling to keep up with the heat, making the lounge rather uncomfortable. The food offering was the typical Galleries Club selection, nothing particularly exciting. The same could be said for the drinks, with the usual Prosecco and other standard options available. One highlight though was the juice ice cream. On such a hot afternoon, it was a refreshing treat, and we both thoroughly enjoyed it. Eventually, it was time to head to the gate for our flight to Dublin. Today's flight was operated by an Airbus A320neo, similar to the A321neo that we flew on earlier in the trip. This aircraft also doesn't feature a shared console in the middle seat. Well, here we are flying Heathrow to Dublin again. 23 days ago, we flew the same route, and that started the whole Alaska adventure. So our dinner has arrived. It doesn't look very different from a couple of weeks ago. This is the dinner. Smoked salmon tartare, and there's a nice chocolate dessert as well. With a lot of luggage in tow, we decided to hire a car and stay at an airport hotel. The next morning, we set off on a day trip to Glendalough, just an hour's drive away. There, we immersed ourselves in the stunning beauty of the Wicklow Mountains and explored the fascinating ancient monastic ruins. It was a perfect little side trip to wrap up our journey. Right, we're back at Dublin Airport and we're ready to go home finally. Interestingly, BA has just moved the Dublin flights to Terminal 2, which means they are now in the same terminal as Aer Lingus. As a result, we were able to access both the security fast track as well as the Aer Lingus lounge. Now, don't get too excited about this lounge. While it's an upgrade from the airport lounge BA used in Terminal 1, the improvement is marginal. The lounge spans 2 levels, but it often feels crowded, especially on the lower level. The food selection here is comparable to what was offered in the Terminal 1 lounge, but the drinks are a notable improvement. There's no rationing here, unlike the 2-drink limit in T1. It's a decent space to spend about 45 minutes before your flight, but I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to maximize your time here. Oh, boarding is started. Starting with Group 0 and now Group 1. Here we are boarding. Well, today this flight from Dublin to London Heathrow is operated by Airbus A319. Unlike the A320neo and the A321neo that we had earlier, this one does come with a console at the middle seats. It's been quite a crazy journey and I think it's time to review the cost of these flights. For the Dublin to Seattle, LA to Dublin open jaw business class ticket, we purchased it with AA even though most of the flights are with BA. The cost is £1,717 or $2,200 per person. For the return London to Dublin flights at the beginning and the end of the trip, we purchased directly with BA and that's £319, around $400 each. Overall, it cost £2,036 for our transatlantic flights with 2 side trips to Dublin, which generates a total of 440 tier points. That's 140 for each of the long-haul flights and 40 for each flight between Heathrow and Dublin. Compared to a direct flight, which will cost more than double that but will yield only 280 tier points, it's a good bargain. Now, this is not a traditional tier point run per se. I know you can get 160 tier points from a return flight to longer short-haul destinations like Sofia and Tirana, etc., which we have both done, by the way, but we needed to go to Alaska anyway. And of course, some of you may suggest finding an indirect flight via an East Coast gateway like JFK or Philadelphia, but unfortunately, we were quoted a much higher price for doing so. So overall, I felt we made the right choice in choosing these flights. As we began our takeoff, the late afternoon sun bathed Dublin Airport in warm golden light. Clear skies stretched endlessly above, creating a perfect setting for this final flight in our series. It felt like the ideal send-off, a fitting end to an unforgettable journey. So this is the dinner tonight. It's chicken and sweet corn salad with some mousse. As always, flights between Dublin and London are incredibly short. Just as the meal service wrapped up, we found ourselves descending towards Heathrow for one final arrival. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite tier point run routes are. For now, we're back at London Heathrow and we'll finally be heading home. Thanks for following along the whole way. Next, watch the videos I mentioned earlier to check out some of the flights on this trip in more detail. This has been Ken from Ken Travel 360. See you over there. Ciao.